Welcome to HortTube. My name is Jim Putnam. I'm calling this video a bonus round of garden question and answer. I had so many garden questions, great questions actually, from a video a couple weeks ago. I decided to do an extra video. I'll still have 50 plus questions even after this one from that video. If you're interested in me doing a third video from those questions, let me know and I will do that tomorrow. And regardless, you can ask questions down below this video and I will have a question and answer video next Sunday regardless. So let's get started on these questions from, like I say, two Sundays ago at this point. Somebody asked me about planting around elms. They're known to be allelopathic, which just means they have an ability to poison plants around them. This is more known in and I want to go back and say it's similar to the black walnut issue that people have, where planting around black walnuts, where the foliage, the roots, all parts of the plant are producing chemicals to try to impede the growth of things around them, which is kind of a little overblown in all of them. It's true, it happens, but it's typically not as bad as people make it out to be. But it's more in American elms, and they said they had two large old elms, and I'm assuming they're American elms. I think that's Ulmus americana, and the Chinese elms, which get planted all over the place. You see them in commercial plantings all over the places, which is Ulmus parvifolia. I think that's what that is. If I'm wrong, I'll correct it. Down at the bottom. Apparently it is less so, and so that's why it gets used more. But yeah, I think it's kind of overblown, and I think the biggest problem actually planting under elms is the shallow root system is really super competitive. Same exact problem you have on a maple, and a maple's not trying to chemically damage your plants. It's just that super shallow fibrous root system that's near the top is difficult to dig in, difficult to plant in. The things you're going to want to put under that tree are going to have to be super tough. Bulbs will actually do fine under there because this tree is deciduous, and you can, it'll have some light when the bulbs are coming up. And then of course hosta will compete against those kinds of things. Carex, I bet, would be a sedges would be a good choice as well, because they're shade tolerant, and then they're tough enough, I think, to compete with that elm. But there's the elm question. Okay, somebody asked me about mail ordering hellebores, and I did that video from Pine Knot Nursery a couple weeks ago. That's who I would recommend to do the mail order for hellebores if you're having a hard time finding varieties in your area. Those are super nice folks. They are super impressed going up there, and with that video and some of the things that I've got on that trip up there, I put in the ground in last Wednesday's video, if you want to take a look at that. Some of the hellebores that I picked up while I was there. Let's see. Somebody asked me about the best time to transplant Solomon seal. I almost laughed at that one, like yesterday, tomorrow, the end times, anytime you want to. It wouldn't matter at all. Even if you dug it up, left it laying there on your driveway for a week and a half, then put it in a pot, put it under your basement, forgot about it. I'm exaggerating now, but you could transplant Solomon seal anytime you want to. It is truly a weed, and it's difficult to get rid of. When you be careful where you're putting it, because at some point it can actually just be a weed. I've got some in the front yard here that I'm going to have to reduce. I do like it. I do like variegated Solomon seal. So I don't have anything against it, but it can be a bully for sure in the garden. And when it goes to sleep in the winter, when it comes back up in the spring, it can come back up quite a bit wider than from where it went to sleep. Okay, somebody asked me about planting directly in compost. They were going to plant directly in compost, and then somebody told them they had to have topsoil in it. You just can't plant directly in compost. You can plant directly in compost as long as it's a good composted product, fully composted product, I should say, and it won't still have some heat to it. Sometimes I've gotten things before, they're still hot. They're telling me it's compost, but it's still, it's still hot. It hasn't actually finished composting yet. I'd be careful with that. But that soil cube product that I'm getting in the bags here, if you've seen any of the Wednesday videos, that's what I'm doing here, is I'm putting down a layer of compost, and then it's getting mixed into everything. And my vegetable garden over there will eventually just be pure organic material. It'll be compost and maybe some pine bark mixed in a little bit like that. But you can plant directly in compost as long as it's, like I say, a finished composted product. It's not a problem at all. And planting in a solid compost, I would trust that the weed seeds that were in it had been cooked off, basically. Once you go, if you get the compost and then go back and mix it 50-50 with some topsoil that somebody took out of a farm field somewhere, it might be a weed nightmare. That's been my experience bringing topsoil onto job sites. I mean, almost immediately, you know, you get a giant burst of weeds. And so in a vegetable garden, that wouldn't be fun. That wouldn't be a fun season, pulling weeds out of it. Okay, let's compost. Somebody asked me if I was going to do a video on American Pillar Arborvitae. Yes, at some point. I haven't done as many single plant videos over the last year or so. I haven't been, I've been just concentrating on this move and being up here, and most of the videos I've done have been, you know, all about that. And so I want to get back to touring some nurseries and doing single plant videos, and I'm actually planning on going to one tomorrow, and I will do that. And I enjoy those, and it keeps me up to date on all the newest plants in the world. So yes, I'll be adding lots of single plant variety videos over the course of this year. I've just definitely for the last 8 months or so, life has been a little bit different, and I haven't been able to go out and just seek out plants that I haven't covered before. Okay, let's see. Somebody asked me if I use landscape fabric, and the answer is no. I have used, the only places I've ever used landscape fabric on you know, when I was landscaping was under gravel. If I was doing gravel sidewalks and things like that. I call it, if you ever have gravel regret, it's super easy to pull the gravel, to get the gravel up cleanly from the soil if you have that layer of fabric under it, or some kind of thick material, thick fabric underneath it. But other than that, I don't. I have a video on my channel. It's one of the most popular and unpopular videos I have on my channel, which is the pros and cons of using weed control fabric. I suggest you all go back and watch that. I don't try to sell you on it, and I don't try, you know, I never bash anybody over the head, you know, with a hammer telling you can't do this, you shouldn't do that. It's just not it'll never be my style, and you know, it's none of my business, honestly. But I think if you watch that video, you'll see that the cons of weed control fabric definitely outweigh the pluses. So, okay, let's see that. All right. Somebody asked me, let me see. I got a lot of questions, you know, things about Holly eating grass. I don't even know why I wrote that down, but yes, she's right here behind the camera on this side. She has not started her grazing yet, but I expect her to move into this area, and I'm monitoring it the whole time. So she doesn't catch me by surprise eating grass behind me anymore. Somebody asked me about their having leaf spot problems and insect problems on a climbing rose they put next to their arbor. And they were hoping to have this grand, you know, covering of this arbor with this climbing rose that, of course, you'd see in a magazine or whatever, I'm sure. If you're already having problems, I'll say this on any plant. If you put something in and within the first 12 months, you're fighting insect problems, you're fighting disease problems, you're fighting what, I mean, you're just fighting this thing. You're having to water it double what you're watering everything else because it's in a little too much sun. Whatever happens, that's a plant that I'm considering, you know, is out of there, or transplanted somewhere else where it might be happier. Maybe it's not getting enough air movement. That's why it's getting a little more leaf spot problems. Roses get leaf spot problems, less so in, you know, areas where they're open and the wind can blow across them. So just keep that in mind. Just across the board, if it were me and within the first 12 months, I was already trying to figure out the 9 things I was gonna have to do to this rose to make it have, you know, make me happy, then I would consider moving to a different vine and going to a jasmine or, you know, clematis or whatever. I don't know what area of the country you're in, but, you know, if it's in a colder area, clematis. If it's in a warmer area, you can use a star jasmine or something like that. Let's see. Somebody asked me about a Japanese maple. They put a Japanese maple in full sun in Florida in zone 9. And it's crispy every summer. It's gonna be crispy every summer. I'm in zone 7B, and the Japanese maples right at 7B, right on the edge of 8. And the Japanese maples that are in the full sun are all crispy here in the summertime. And so I don't think you're gonna be able to, combat that all that much. I think you're going to have to expect it's going to come out and be beautiful every spring and early summer, but I think by midsummer, even if you tried to shade protect it, even if you watered it additionally, I don't care what you're doing, I think that it's going to be a little bit extra crispy by August. You're not going to enjoy the fall color that other people will enjoy on their Japanese maples. That's growing Japanese maples in zone 9. I think that's the definition of it. You get the spring color and not the fall color. Let's see. Somebody asked me if my encores are blooming yet. Mine are weird because I got mine. I actually have some over here that have a few flowers coming out on them, and I've got and the autumn fire right there that I put in, and there's a autumn lily right there, and there's an what else did I put in here? I got the 3 Sundance here. They have all bloomed once already because I got them from Mobile, Alabama. And so mine were just ahead, but they still have a lot of buds on them. And so I expect to get some more flowers even this spring. But yeah, mine were blooming when I received them from Mobile, Alabama. And it is time for them to be blooming. I saw a few popping yesterday that I know that are encores. Let's see. Somebody asked me when to plant strawberries. They had gotten some bare root strawberries and wanted to know when to plant them. All the instructions on all those things are always going to say plant after last frost. It's like some sort of protective defense that companies use on packaging, plant after last frost. Like I planted some Dutch irises in here last week. Well, the packaging says plant after last frost. By then, I think the bulbs might have been damaged. Waiting until middle of April, and I don't think they would have even come up this year. I think there were already some soft ones in the package. They needed to go in the ground. Same thing with those strawberries. People are planting strawberries here, and where I am in zone 7, they plant them in months ago, and they cover them if necessary. Now, they can take a frost, light frost with no problem, but if it's a deep freeze, the answer is plant them now, and then if you're going to get a freeze, cover them with some sort of cover to protect them. But you need to get them rooted in, and all of the strawberry growers have had theirs in for a long time at this point. But I don't know why that's, like I said, it's on all packaging that you see for those kinds of things. When you're buying them this time of year. Let's see. Somebody said their soil is too alkaline to grow blueberries. Blueberries like a very low pH. They're big, heavy iron feeders. Iron is super available to plants when the pH is down in the 5s. And if your soil's alkaline, the iron gets locked up. I have a video on my channel for why pH is so important if you go back and watch. Some people have probably found my channel. When I mention these videos, that might be the video that someone found that got them to subscribe that has them watching now. I don't know, but if you haven't watched that pH, why is pH so important video, watch that. Somebody could probably do that video better, but I think I get my point across about why, what pH does to allow the availability of different nutrients to different plants. And then they were asking about, since they can't grow them in the ground, growing them in containers, and then the soil mix was so expensive. I think that sometimes, I hate to say this kind of thing, sometimes it might be that it's just not worth growing that thing, and finding the food crops that you can grow more economically is probably wise. I've seen a lot of people grow $50 tomatoes, where they spent just tons and tons of money and got a single tomato, and that's what I equate that kind of thing to. Honestly, blueberries in a container on your porch might yield you, a handful of blueberries every year, and you'll be fighting, and you will have put a lot of money into those blueberries, and money that you could have probably spent, buying compost and improving your soil and growing other food crops that you could produce for not a lot of money, for less than the grocery store, rather than paying 10 times more than grocery store pricing. You could actually save money from the grocery store. So that would be my suggestion, honestly, at that point, is that I probably would not want to spend, $50 for a pint of blueberries. And people don't want to hear that answer. Okay, let's see. Let's get one more here. And Somebody asked me if they could prune burning bush hard. Yeah, you can prune burning bush right down to the ground. If they're established, I don't want to say you can plant a new one and then cut it off to the ground, but if you've got old established burning bush, you could prune them right to the ground, and you could do it right now. Those are, that's another Solomon seal type answer, but yeah, you can get after them pretty hard. So I'll stop there. I have tons more questions to answer if you guys, if I don't get any questions on this video, I'll just use these for next Sunday. But like I say, if you want to want me to go through any more of these, I think I probably have another 40 questions or so. Let me know down below, and I'll do a third part to this. Thanks for watching.